So software-defined storage really is about divorcing the management piece from the actual hardware, so the software and hardware. Typically, customers have been buying turnkey storage solutions where the software and hardware is baked in together. What that tends to mean is that the customer has to continually buy the hardware upgrades from the same vendor, so they're kind of locked in. And ultimately, the vendor can then start to control the price, as they scale their business and their needs. So the software-defined storage really allows you to give you freedom of choice about which hardware vendors you can use, but ultimately have the same software management piece that allows you to have that kind of enterprise management and control of data and storage device management. So ultimately, it means that customers have much more flexibility in who they decide to work with and have greater control over who they spend their money with and how much they spend their money with. Alongside that, it also gives them the ability to take advantage of new technology and innovate much faster as new technology comes to market, because the software piece is divorced from the hardware. So they can add new hardware devices and take advantage of that much quicker than if they were running with a legacy type storage system. So big data is interesting. We've been talking a lot about that recently, and big data really it's a very separate technology and a different way of managing your data to what we would traditionally look at when we talk about data storage. So for me, big data is about the analysis and taking the data that we have and making sense of the actual data itself. Whereas traditional storage is about safeguarding, storing that data, making sure that it's protected and available for the end user to access. Big data is about looking into the data and analysing it and providing insight into the actual data itself. So big data really is something that sits alongside your traditional data storage environment, but it needs some interaction. It needs to be able to plug in and extract the data out so that it gets crunched, and gives something meaningful to the marketing or the sales, managers in the environment, in a customer. Internet of Things. I mean, really, then we start to talk about machine-to-machine communications. Different machines, taking information and making decisions automatically on that. And of course, we need to store that data again. So that then comes, it hits both aspects. You need the big data to analyse the data and what it actually means. But traditional storage infrastructures where you store the data and hold the data and protect the data, that needs to hold the data to start with, and then you need that interaction between big data and traditional storage architectures, again, just as sort of mentioned before. Yeah, so that's the challenge that's really been ongoing ever since I've worked in the storage industry. I think customers have to understand that when they're buying a storage system, it's going to be with them for at least 3 or 5 years. And then you talk to some organisations in the public sector, for example, and they want to sweat the asset longer, maybe 7 years if possible. So when you're investing, you absolutely need to think about scalability. But it's not just about capacity, it's also about performance, because if you can't get access to the data in a timely fashion, then you may as well not be holding it. You need to be able to access it, and you need to be able to scale that solution so that as content gets richer and it gets more, nobody wants to delete anything anymore. So the amount of data that is being stored just increases exponentially, really. And we talk about unstructured data is growing at a really fast rate. That'll be to do with Internet of Things. It'll be to do with big data as well. Big data tries to make sense of what that unstructured data is. It doesn't typically live in a database. And when we talk about unstructured data, it could be Word or Office documents, so presentations or spreadsheets or Word documents. It's all important. It's intellectual property that people generate for their customer, for their organisation. But also, if you think about storing a lot more digital photos or video, because again everyone now has a smart device, so everyone's recording. a lot more, but the actual size of a photo file, for example, has increased massively. So, when I first had my first digital camera, the size of a photo was probably about 100 kilobytes. You're now probably looking at about 10 megabytes because of the high definition quality. So not only is more data being stored and for longer, it's also getting bigger just in terms of the content quality. So actually addressing the performance and scalability issue, and also really focusing in on specific workloads. So, is one storage system the right solution for running VDI and databases and email and file serving all at the same time? Possibly not. And we've got to focus on, at the end of the day, storage is a necessary evil that an organization has to have. What's really important, what delivers value to an organization, is the applications, it's the workload, and making sure that we deliver a storage infrastructure that ties into that workload. So we're becoming very focused on delivering the right storage solution for the right workload, but making sure that there's the scalability for those workloads that do need massive growth. Now, we're looking at a number of technologies. We've been doing traditional storage platforms that serve storage out through file and block architectures. But the next really big thing is kind of scaling out, which extends the scalability massively into the multiple petabytes, even exabyte range. Managing things in a different way. So rather than file or object block, we're moving to an object-based solution. So by the end of the year, we'll have our object scale-out solution, which will complement the block and the file architecture as well. And I think having both together, we can offer the customer what they need according to what they need to store and when they need to store it.